Hello. Hi, I'm Chia-Chien Wu. I'm a human vision scientist. So today I'm going to tell you a story about medical GIST perception, identify breast cancer with a glimpse of a second. So let's try to see if what you can detect something with a glimpse of a second. So this is a demo. Try to clap if you see the chimpanzee. Okay? Clap if you see a chimpanzee. Ready? Good. So if you see a chimpanzee, that's your GIST perception. So you just experience the GIST perception. So the GIST perception is just like you just grab a chimpanzee. So it also help you to use just using a glimpse of eye. You probably already see, oh, right now the scene outside your window is a beach scene. And also it allows you to recognize immediately this is a city landscape before you recognize any individual feature. And also the GIST perception can help you to get a feeling about the bedroom the moment you walk in the room, even before you recognize the furniture. And it's commonly thought that our ability to access those relevant information is developed from our intensive familiarity with the world we live in. Although we cannot know the detail about those, but in general, it gives us very important information to guide where we look next. So this leads our question: do experts develop the ability to extract the GIST from artificial stimuli they extensively familiar with? That is, can the radiology detect the GIST from the medical image? So this is not a new question. Back to about 40 years ago, Condor and Nardin actually ran the first study. In their study, they asked radiology to try to find a long nodule in a chest image. So in the control case, the radiology have an unlimited time to try to find a long nodule. But in the critical case, they only show the image for as short as 200 milliseconds. And when radiology have an unlimited time, the performance is really great. But the interesting part is, even they only see the image 200 milliseconds, the hit rate still reached up to 70%. So they conclude that the visual search begins with a global response that establishes the content, detect the gross deviation from normal, and organize subsequent fovea check fixation. So that is the moment they see the image, they probably have a sense and already plan where they need to look for next. So we are interested in the similar question, which is, could there be a GIST in the breast image? So here's a 2D mammogram. So it is a breast image normally taken in US, and the radiologists, they need to check the patient just based on this 2D slice. So it's a really hard task. They just need to see the contexture and see if the high contrast is actually a potential lesion or not. And Dr. Carla Evans collaborated with us and start to ask questions whether there's some GIST perception, there's a medical GIST in those breast image. Because when we ask radiology, when we interview them, and a lot of them sometimes will say, the moment they see this slice, I know something wrong about it, even I haven't checked that. So to study this question, we run a study and try to see, can radiology extract the relevant GIST information? So here's the study, here's the experiment. So they will see a bilateral breast for as short as 250 milliseconds, just like this. Then radiology will ask whether you want to recall this patient back by using a rating scale from 0 to 100. So 0 is yes, I definitely want to call this one back, and the 100 is no, it's completely normal. And later on, we will ask radiology, try to localize the potential lesion on an outline of breast, even if you think this case is completely normal. So you just random, if you think completely normal, you still need to do a localization task. And here's the way we plot the data. So on the y-axis, we plot the hit rate. On the x-axis, we plot false alarm rate. So this is what we call receiver operating characteristic, or ROC curve. So if radiologists are completely guessing, so the performance will lie on the diagonal line. Then here's the result. Each line is a different condition for the flash duration. So from 250 milliseconds to 2 seconds. So as you can see, all the different duration is all above chance level, even as short as 250 seconds. And is this raw because they see the lesion? We want to see maybe they just spot the lesion right away. So we're analyzing their localization performance as a function of their rating scale. So we found that it doesn't matter how they rate, whether they want to call this patient back or not. The localization performance is always random, it's always at the chance level. So they actually never see the lesion. They just have a feeling, oh, I need to call this patient back. And of course, we are not suggesting radiologists should using this just flash the image and do the medical exam, because when you compare the regular practice, the performance is on the upper right corner. But the thing is, even as short as 250 milliseconds, they already grab some global information. But probably there's the other factor can attribute that result. Maybe it's the other factor. For example, probably they're using the breast density, because in clinic, radiologists sometimes were using bilateral density asymmetry as a cue to indicate that maybe this patient is abnormal. So we want to see that. So we compare their density with their rating scale, and we found that there's no correlation with the breast density. So they didn't using the density. So it's not because of density. How about the breast asymmetry? Because in our experiment, it's bilateral, so they can compare whether those breasts are symmetric or not. So we know that in the normal breast, both bilateral should be symmetric. So that's using a butterfly wing as a metaphor. So on the right side, if it's normal, you should see asymmetric. On the left side, if you see asymmetric, that may be indication for abnormal. So we ran a study. How about we just show a single breast instead of bilateral breast? So we show the breast with lesion alone. And we want to ask, without the help of symmetry, can expert radiologists distinguish normal breast from abnormal with a single glance? And also, we show another single breast, but this time is contralateral alone. So in this breast image, there's no lesion in the image. It's contralateral to the breast with lesion. And we want to ask, can the breast contralateral to an abnormal breast be discriminated from normal cases? Then here's the result. Again, we will plot the ROC curve. So when you're using a single breast with lesion alone, and you can see everybody, the dashed line is individual observers' data, and the solid line is the average data. So you can see everybody is above the chance level. But interestingly, even you show the contralateral breast where there's no lesion in that breast, you still see those signal. There's a GIST signal over there. It's weaker. And we want to see the signal also exists in the other breast screen modality. In this case, the signal also exists in the 3D breast image. So traditionally, radiology using a 2D mammography, like I showed on the left side. But in the last decade, a lot of hospitals in US already start using the 3D imaging, which is digital breast tomosynthesis. So basically, the stack of slides. So radiology will scroll through all the slides, and the result will better hit rate and lower the false alarm rate. But the drawback is they will spend a lot of time to reading all the image because there are more information. And we want to know if there is some GIST-like signal also exists in the DBT image. So here's the experiment we ran. So in the beginning of the experiment, they will click to start. Then they will see an outline of breast for a second to indicate where they will expect to see the image. Then they will see the DBT, we call DBT GIST. Basically, you show every slide for 200 milliseconds. Then later on, they need to do the localization task, even they think this case is completely normal. And they will do the 6-point rating whether they want to call this patient back. So here's the demo. So they will see an outline first, then see this one. And they need to localize where they think the lesion is, even they think this one is completely normal. Then later on, they need to rate they want to call this patient back. And here's the result. Again, we plot the RC curve. As you can see, all the dashed line is the individual observer, and solid line is the average data. So everybody still perceives the GIST signal. And of course, in DBT, the stimulus duration is longer than 2D mammogram. So it's possible observers spot the lesion. So to make sure our result is not simply due to those lesion detection, we using the localization trial to see whether the trial will actually detect the lesion or not. And we exclude those trials, only analyze the trial where they fail to localize the lesion. And we found that even you exclude those trials where they can localize the lesion, you still see the signal. So what do we know so far? Radiology can detect the GIST signal in the mammogram of the cancerous breast, and also the mammogram of the breast contralateral to the lesion, and also in the DBT image as well, digital breast tomosynthesis, which is 3D image. And those GIST perception doesn't rely on the presence of the lesion itself. It's a global signal in your context. So this leads to a question: if the signal is independent from the lesion itself, then can radiology detect it even before cancer develops? So we want to ask, can radiology detect the signal for cancer 3 years before cancer develops? Because in US, people take a screen like every 3 years or every 2 years. So you have a record like when they take an exam. So we do the same task. So basically, you flash the bilateral breast and ask them to localize the lesion, then do the rating task. So the critical part is that in the stimuli, half of them are normal, and the other half of them we call prior, which is normal, but 3 years after there's a cancer be detected. So that's prior cases. So at that moment, there's no cancer in those image. And we found that, yes, there's still a very slight signal in those prior image, even before cancer was visible. The signal is really small but significant. And those same result was actually replicated in Australia by different group. So in the experiment, they run all the different conditions we just mentioned. So, and those prior, in this case, the orange line indicate the prior visible, which is originally diagnosed as a normal. And after 3 years, then diagnosed as a cancerous case, then they go back to see if there is a visible feature. And in this case, there's a visible feature, but it didn't be diagnosed in the beginning. But on the other hand, the other case is prior invisible. So originally, again, diagnosed as a normal, then 3 years after become cancer cases. But when they go back, they didn't see any visible feature. So it's prior invisible. So all the prior cases, the signal is there, is above chance level. So radiology can detect cancer 3 years before it appears. So it looks like those signals appear in a global and widely distributed and non-localizable. And why this GIST processing is so exciting? Because perhaps it can help us understand the level of expertise. So in the DBT GIST experiment we just mentioned, so when we take a look at your detection performance, we found that when radiology have more experiments reading the digital breast tomosynthesis, the detection performance is better. So they can just scan and immediately know maybe there's something wrong and I probably need to spend more time on it, even I haven't seen any visible feature. And also, there's also other possibility clinical application. So one thing is maybe GIS processing can provide you a possible warning to alert radiologists they probably want to spend more time in the 3D readings. So as we say that in the tomosynthesis reading, people spend more than, I think it's twice longer or even longer to examine each cases. So perhaps provide the GIS before you read the tomosynthesis can help you decide which case you probably want to spend more time. So in one of the ongoing study, this is the step of tomosynthesis study. So in one condition, we provide the GIS preview. So before they read the tomosynthesis, we just show the GIS preview to them. The other control, we provide no preview, directly ask them, directly read the 3D tomosynthesis. And we eye track the eye movements. And here's the eye movement heat map. We found that if you provide preview first, your search pattern actually very different from the one you don't have a preview. So this maybe give you a warning sign. If you see the preview first, you probably want to spend more time on specific cases. And it's also probably, this one probably also an unexplored image biomarker for AI analysis. If we can train AI to detect those invisible features, then probably we can have a better biomarker for the cancer haven't been developed yet. So one possibility is train your AI, try to see what's the signal behind it. So which is really exciting. So finally, I would like to thank our lab PI and the pioneer worker for all the work, Dr. Carla Evans at York, and the Visual Attention Lab at Harvard. Thank you.
Okay, so it's time for discussion. Is there any question or comment? Yeah, it is very, very impressive work. And yeah, you mentioned that we can predict, a radiologist can detect it 3 years before the cancer appears.
They can better than chance. They sort of know something.
Yeah. So, but in your result, in some cases, okay, it's possible, might be possible, but some cases impossible. What is the major difference between the predictable and unpredictable? We were not sure what's happening, but here is that we think those global signals already there even before become visible. Mm-hmm. But we don't know which case have those features, which are not. So this in general. Oh, okay. Yeah. So and also it also appear in the images where there's no visible feature, similar to the control level breast. Control level breast, there's a signal feature there, but you cannot detect it's a lesion. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh, okay. And we think it's a good way to maybe train your model whether they can recognize those features even in the breast or in the lung. Okay. Yep. Thank you. Yes.
Instead of 3D pictures rather than 2D, if you bring a time-lapse image the specified cancer image, how much would it help?
You what?
Time-lapse difference.
Time-lapse difference.
Time-lapse difference. Looking at the specified patient and check a year ago, 2 years ago, 3 years ago.
Oh, we haven't done that.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that would be an interesting part. We haven't done that.
We don't. According to the conversation with Johns Hopkins medical doctor, that would greatly help. Time-lapse difference of CT.
Yeah, that would help, I think. Yeah.
So that would be interesting.
Thank you. Okay, is there any comment or question?
Yes.
Okay, I have two questions. First, you say that radiologists can take a signal 3 years before it actually says cancer. And do you have any idea what the signal will be?
We don't know. It's a good question, but we don't know. It's in the background, and it's actually when you ran high spatial frequency and low spatial frequency, those signal mostly located the high spatial frequency part.
Okay, because you know what the signal they will use.
Yeah, we hope we know.
Okay. The second thing is that whether the performance will be influenced by the quality of the image. So for instance, how much noise ratio noise is in the image, or because exposure can improve the detection performance.
The performance, whether performance will be affected by the resolution of the image, the quality of the image. I think it will, but we didn't manipulate the quality of the image here. But I just think it will.
Okay. Any other question?
Very nice. I just wonder if you could compare the information in the image before the actual cancer, and you find the information you show about the normal side of the cancer case. I don't think you can compare these because you don't know what is there, what is the actual information there. But still, I wonder if they are the similar thing, or there is there is a way to compare if they are the similar kind of information or just different kind of information. Because you may think about the similar difference, similar digital information for the normal side of the cancer place and the normal time before the cancer diagnosis. But still, the symmetry thing has some different kind of information, perhaps.
Mm-hmm.
So if you can say the information, digital information of the normal side and before the cancer are different, that means you have more information you can use for the detecting the cancer.
Yes.
So I just wonder if you have any particular method to compare the digital information between the two cases.
Between which two?
The normal side of the cancer and the normal time before the cancer.
Oh, no. That's an interesting part.
So.
Yeah, I don't think we have a specific methods to compare that at the moment, but we will work on that.
Okay. So let's thank the speaker again.
Thank you.